Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of This Old FX Shop. And we are in that FX shop with Frank Ippolito. Frank, what are we doing today?
We're going to build some model kits.
Model kits. Now, these are really cool cast kits from our friend Bill Duran.
Punished Props.
Punished Props. And he joined us at this year's Designer Con, where he sculpted and cast up a few of these. What are these called? Sir Botsalot?
Sir Botsalot.
Sir Botsalot. They're really cool.
I guess Body McBotface didn't win.
I know. Yeah, that's what I would have called it. I love his eyebrow right there.
Yeah.
But he gave each of us one of these kits, and we thought it'd be fun to paint them and use it as a way to show you guys how to turn resin into different materials.
Different kinds of metal.
Yeah. I guess we're going to sit down, get started. These are basically fresh out of the molds.
Yep.
And what are the finishes that you think you want to do with these kits?
I think I want to do one, like kind of a nice, like brushed steel or brushed aluminum or brushed titanium finish. And I want to do another one where it's like corroded and rusted and like kind of beat up.
I love that one. A couple years ago, Adam and I painted those cosmonaut model kits, and I really want to make those look like concrete old. I love old rusted materials, aged materials.
Yep.
That's gonna be a lot of fun. So is step one cleaning this guy up?
Yeah, let's get rid of there's just a little bit of seam lines and just prep it for paint.
All right, we'll get right to it. Frank, you're picking out some tools?
Yeah, cleaning up resin kits, I always like to jump to files first. If you just start sanding, you can make a divot, but if you use a file, it'll keep all the planes even.
All right, seems pretty simple. It's 4 pieces here. I'm gonna grab a file also.
Yeah, file or
right there.
another thing you can do is spray glue some sandpaper onto a popsicle stick.
You can spray glue sandpaper?
Yeah, right onto a popsicle stick, and that keeps your surface flat.
It's like turning it into an emery board,
Kind of,
a little rougher with whatever grit you
firmer.
have. Firmer.
Yeah, because emery boards, these are a little squishy.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a nice little tip. Now the one you have there, you cast up when Bill was hanging out here at the shop. What are these cast out of?
These are just some sort of urethane resin. This one I know is Smooth-On's Onyx. I wanted it in black just because I know that when I do my metallic finishes, I want the undertones to be black.
Okay. So you're already thinking about the finish when you're thinking about what material you're casting out of.
Yeah.
But if someone's buying this from Bill, and this is just some urethane resin, and here's light gray color, does that you still have all those possibilities?
Oh yeah, you could paint it whatever color you want.
Or you can just prime it something and
prime
then
it whatever color you want. Yeah.
Right.
I would even on this one. I'm probably going to end up putting a gloss black coat on first, just to kind of give it a nice lustrous, glossy black surface to start with.
And you're sanding these edges, this flash off until it's just visibly smooth, until it's by touch.
Yeah, you can. I have a piece of Scotch-Brite too. Yeah, if you.
It's pretty soft. It comes off really easily.
Yeah, no, these are well-made molds. Like they don't have too much of a step in them or anything, so they're easy to clean up. And even once you do finish cleaning all that up, you're going to want to hit the whole thing with Scotch-Brite just to kind of give the surface something for the paint to bite onto. I also have an X-Acto knife with a little curved blade like this. This is one of my favorite blades to kind of clean up castings with, because if it's just like the pointy thing, the point of the X-Actos always break off, but these curved blades, I can it lasts longer when I'm cleaning stuff up.
Something I thought was also cool with this casting is Bill had it so the base is this exhaust.
Yeah,
it's a little, it looks like it's on
flame
fire.
Coming out.
Yeah.
Like a rocket booster is going off.
And this color is all in the casting. How do you do that?
He mixed up 2 different colors of resin. If you imagine the mold is sitting upside down like this, he poured in the yellow first, in both of these. And then in this one he put a little bit of orange, and in this one he put a little bit of red, and just kind of drizzled it around and swirled it in there. So it kind of had that nice little mix in there, and it gives a little bit of a color transition. So it's not just all like one solid color, it just gives it a little bit more dimension.
And that effect looks so cool when you're looking at it here, and it's very clear when you look underneath it. Just that swirl of colors. Not a lot.
No, yeah, it's a nice subtle effect, but it's very effective.
Yeah. If you painted the bottom of it any other color, would that come through?
Anytime you start putting paint on there, you're only affecting the top surface.
Okay.
So to have that color be intrinsic like that, it adds a whole dimension to it. It makes it really neat.
Yeah, this is really clean. Not too much needed on the top there.
No.
I'm gonna grab one of these boards. So you said yours is gonna look like metal.
Yeah, I want mine to be kind of like shiny and fresh metal, like Iron Man or something like that, where it's all nice and bright.
Okay.
So
Can you talk me through how you're gonna do that?
well, the first thing whenever you're doing these, like a high gloss metallic finish, is you need to have a high gloss black surface to paint on. And I'm going to use the all-clad paints for mine, the chrome and the aluminums and stuff like that, and kind of pick and choose spots to kind of punch up. So you have to start with gloss black, and then you kind of lightly mist those colors on top of it.
Airbrush.
Airbrush all those on. And then once you get that all on there, I'm going to take the Scotch-Brite pad again, and I'm just going to lightly scuff it, and by scuffing it, it's going to make it look like it's brushed metal, because it scuffs away just a little bit of that silvery finish, and has that black show through, which makes it look like a brushed metal. Then one other thing I'm going to do on these things is yours already has the hole drilled out underneath, so I have to drill my hole out, because this was just straight out of the casting. But I'm also going to drill all the way up into it and put lights in its eyes, the way Bill did his. So when you're cleaning up these castings, you want to kind of be careful what grit sandpaper you're using.
Okay.
Like these files are a little bit rougher than this piece of sandpaper that's glued on here. This might be like maybe 220 or something like that. You don't want to scratch up the surface too much, because then you'll have to sand it to get rid of those scratch marks. If any of this stuff was too big to get off with a file or an X-Acto knife, you could always use like a Dremel to get rid of edges or any ridges or extra stuff that's in the casting. But these are really clean, so we don't have to. Part of these things being clean castings is probably because Bill's only making a couple of these. Once you get molds and you start getting into 20, 30, 50, or 100 castings, like the molds just start breaking down a little bit. They don't always line up as well. So finding kits that are small run kits, you're gonna get better castings.
I wonder when people do small run kits, if people pay more, they sign up early so they get the early casting, if that's something that is even taken into consideration.
I don't know. A lot of times if people are making more than like 20 or 30 castings, they'll make multiple molds, or they'll have to remake molds. We just did a project in here where we had to make 350 parts.
Whoa.
And we had to do 6 molds
You do the math,
just limp through that.
Yeah.
By the time we were up into the 250, 300s, like the molds were getting pretty iffy, but that's something that people that are making resin kits, they have to take into consideration. Like even a really good mold out of a really good rubber, you're still only going to get a certain amount of pulls before that rubber starts breaking down. Now I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Bill actually 3D modeled and printed this.
Are there any telltale signs?
The symmetry and the geometry is really hard to sculpt. A lot of the symmetry and geometry that are in this, and also the way that the shoulders plug in. Like they plug in, they key in way too perfect.
The tolerances are
too good. So chances are these things were all modeled.
I love robots.
Robots are the best.
Who doesn't love robots?
Dummies.
Yeah, exactly. With the robot I'm working on, because the goal is to make it look old and a little rusted, I'm not worried about having it too pristine.
Yeah, well, you gotta pick and choose. Like, do you want it to look like a seam from a bad casting, or do you want to pick and choose where scratches and imperfections are?
Yeah, definitely getting scratches on there with these files. So smoothing them out as best I can, but also okay if a few scratches are there left over. Using the X-Acto on those fingers.
Yeah. Yours need it?
No, mine's are pretty good. You can get really obsessive about cleaning up a piece.
Yeah, you know, it's. I think we've said it before, but it's actually pretty relaxing to kind of just sit and kind of zone out to cleaning something up like this. You know, this is doing stuff like this. It's a good time to like just kind of chill out and listen to a podcast or put a movie on in the background, and it becomes relaxing. So this is something that we've done before on Shop Tips, using super glue and baby powder to fill in little pinholes and fix little imperfections. There's a couple of tiny pinholes on this guy that I want to fill in. Because I'm making, this one's going to be the one that's like a nice fancy metal finish. I want to have all these little pinholes cleaned up. For something like yours, Norm, we could let them be, make it some rust. And for mixing these up, I use old X-Acto blades that maybe have the tips broken off, or they're not quite sharp enough anymore. So I kind of hold on to those just for times like this where I want to mix up a little bit of super glue. Because then I can kind of be a little bit more precise where I put it without having to waste like a popsicle stick or something. So another thing I want to do is I want to drill out this guy's eyes.
Yep.
And in the base so that I could put LEDs. So just to make it easy, I'm going to try and center punch his eyes to get it close. Get close to the center.
Is this a solid casting though, right?
Oh yeah, these are solid. Yeah, so I'm going to kind of do a multi-step process just to kind of take my time getting into those eyes. Now that I'm pretty much there, I'm just kind of putting the drill bit in there and kind of walking it around just to kind of
Hogging it out a little bit.
Yeah, just go real slow.
All right, Frank, all clean.
Yeah, all nice and Scotch brighted up, and all the seams are gone. Little bubbles are patched.
You have them on nice little stands. Looks like a robot graveyard here.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like extra resin when I have, and I just have a little piece of steel in there so I can have paint stands.
Sweet. So to get it looking like your shiny metal,
Yeah.
you need it jet black.
Yeah, we want gloss black. So I'm just, for ease of everything, I'm just gonna use all the All-Clad stuff, and All-Clad has a gloss black.
Okay.
So just gonna spray it with some gloss black now.
Now, typically it doesn't matter if you're gonna mix and match your brands.
You know, you want to pay attention to what bases they are. Like these are, I'm using all lacquers, so these are, you know, it just makes sense to just continue using all lacquer.
It's very glossy black there, Frank.
Gloss black.
Gloss black, jet black.
Now, like we could go crazy and we could like wet sand it and make it like really like mirror shine. And if you're trying to get a finish that's like a mirror, like chrome, you would want to do that. You would want to, you know, wet sand all this stuff and make it like as smooth as possible. But we're leaving in a bunch of the little scuff marks, and but it is a gloss black coat. Yeah.
Okay. And the gloss black is important because next you're going to put on some metallics.
Yeah, we're going to start with the chrome. And when you're doing these kind of chrome or gold or any of these finishes, you want to start with a black base, and then you just want to kind of lightly like build up the chrome. If you put on too much, then it's just all this like silvery color. So you just want to put enough that it gives that mirrory finish.
And when we say lightly put on, it's both in the application, like how big of the speckles you want to be, and also how much coverage.
Well, you lightly put it on as in a light cover.
A light cover.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're still going to see the black.
Kind of.
It's best to see it.
Need to show you.
All right. Really nice. So if you did not put that gloss black underneath it and it was just that flat onyx black,
it doesn't work the same. I mean, you can still get a nice metallic finish, but you really want to give it the glossiest, most polished black you can underneath. But for the way we're going to do this finish, this is totally good enough. You can see how I'm not like giving it a heavy coat. I'm just kind of misting it on there. So now this is a nice like metallic base finish. Again, this isn't like mirror, like like when you see those like celebrity cars that get painted like they're a mirror.
Yep.
That's like a silver nitrate process, and takes a lot of other steps. But if you like, you can really polish that black coat if you want to get this a little bit more mirrory. But this is great for what we want.
it's interesting that it's about the base coat and how much sanding and finishing goes in the base coat that determines how shiny this chrome looks like.
Oh yeah. And see how this is a lot more shiny than this? Mm-hmm. It's about like just barely kissing it. And had I a better black undertone, like I would leave it like right there, but it's just, I did like the gloss black isn't as gloss as it could be. So
and that's it. Can we talk about that chrome for a little bit? What type of paint you're using?
this is also just the all clad chrome. There's a whole bunch of different finishes. Like there's an aluminum one, there's a magnesium, golds, some brass. I have a bunch of various things from other projects we've done. This chrome it's a good first step.
All right, so the chrome is drying on your robot, but we also primed this robot, and this one we want it to look more like a corroded metal.
Yeah. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put on a magnesium, which is a darker metal color than the chrome.
But same rules apply. You want that gloss black underneath.
Yeah, exactly.
To make it look like metal. Now, why is that? Like you're simulating metals here. Whether it's chrome or magnesium, what is it about the metals that have that undertone of black or something that shines through?
Well, I guess if you think about a metal, like that metallic, as much as it's a kind of opaque color, like there's a lot of translucency to it. Like it's got this like black undertone into that metal, and it's just the way to replicate it and make it look nice. You see how that magnesium gives it a much more like cast iron feel.
Yeah.
So once we start weathering that up, and it'll just have a nicer feel than the chrome.
Look at that, Frank. Wow. I didn't realize the differences would be so stark.
Well, I mean, they're different paint finishes, but if you look at these two hands, like you can kind of see how, where this was nice and glossy, you got that mirrory metallic finish.
Right.
Because this is more of a matte, irony, magnesium look.
Yeah.
It gives a different character to the robot.
It also reveals a different part of the just that finishing.
Oh yeah.
I can tell that where I was a little more rough with the sanding, that's revealed more here with this paint, and it's cleaner on this side. But it almost makes me wish I scuffed it up even more.
Well, that's one of the things. Like seeing this metallic finish, you could see how the prep for your model is way more important if you're trying to do like a high gloss metallic.
Yeah.
Now the next thing I want to, like I said that mine I wanted to do is a brushed metal. So now that I have this nice kind of metallic finish, I'm just going to take the Scotch-Brite again.
Okay.
And I'm just going to go in one direction, and I'm just going to kind of scuff it.
And you're not doing a lot of passes.
No. Because I don't want to take off too much of the paint, but I just want to give it like a stroked finish. Yeah, there you go. See how those scratches kind of give it that brushed metal look? That's why you have to go in one. If you start going in like crazy directions, doesn't work the same.
And how light of a touch are you using?
I'm just barely wiping it on there. Because I don't want to wipe off too much of the paint. You can easily wipe off way too much.
And of course you want to wait until your coats are dry before doing this so it doesn't smear.
And now that I have these scratches in there, I can always, now that it's got that like difference in finish, I can go and I can just kiss it a little bit more with paint and make certain areas pop. Because this, you can see how it is rubbing off paint in certain areas. But the key to doing this right is to always go in the same direction. So one of the things looking at this kit that I really want to do is I want to add the discoloration down by this jet. When metal gets hot,
Yeah.
it turns that blue, a little bit of
Purplish,
purple,
yep.
and then an orange.
Yep.
I want to lightly airbrush that color down here. So
Okay.
For that, I'm going to use marker inks.
Oh.
'Cause it
What are
really-
marker inks?
Marker inks this is like the base fluid that's in a marker.
Okay.
Like drawing markers. But you can get these inks, like one of them is like Copic. Like this is markers that are at art stores, like high-end markers. And you can just buy the inks to refill the markers. So I have a bunch of these, and so I'm going to use that.
And you can airbrush them.
You can airbrush them. Yeah.
Interesting.
You can also buy these little rigs that snap onto your markers that airbrush, but those aren't like as controllable as just taking a little bit of ink and doing it this way.
Does it behave in the airbrush like your typical acrylic or lacquers?
Yeah, it's just like any kind of paint. It's just an alcohol-based, like very thin paint.
So I see what you mean when you said like an Iron Man type finish. Because when you think of those Iron Man armors, like the face plates, they definitely have that brush, one direction brush line, screaming out, "I am metal."
Do you want yours to have heat treating?
Nah, I don't think so. I think I want mine more like a statue. Maybe let's do a little bit. Why
You're
not?
gonna want it.
Why not?
You're gonna see mine and you're gonna say, "I wish I did."
I'm gonna trust you on that one. So you started off with some blue ink. Now you're moving on to a bit of a, what is that?
It's a red.
Red.
It's got a little bit of a different feel.
All right, that looks awesome, but you're not done.
No, not done. Not even close. I want to do some more layers of color on this one. I want to mask some areas off and then spray some parts. Like when Bill built his, he had like some of these little raised parts as red, and I really liked how that looked.
Oh,
So I'm going to mask that off, and I'm going to airbrush that in a candy red.
Okay.
So it's like it's an anodized part. Feel
All
it?
right. Yeah.
And then for yours, I think you need to start getting in there with some weathering.
Oh, the fun part.
Yeah, the stuff that you really like.
Yes.
So
Yes.
in my mind, when you start doing rust on this thing, you want to start with like that orangey, like rusty color. So we'll start with some acrylics, and so I got an orange, a sienna brown, and then like a ochre color.
Okay.
And so what we'll do is I'll get you started with that. We'll get some of these colors out. So like if you're gonna start rusting stuff up, I would start just kind of getting colors on there.
And just doing washes.
Kinda. Like you wipe the color on there and then wipe it down. And so see how if you wipe down, that leaves it kind of streaky.
Okay.
So you get the yellow in there, get some of this brown on there. And that's going to start making it look like it's all rusty.
So you're layering in yellow and then maybe brown on top of
Yeah,
that.
I mean, we could probably skip that yellow because this sienna brown has a lot of this
character
yellow
in there.
already in it.
Yeah. And it's about being messy. It's about
Yeah.
letting it build up. I think building up around where these rivets are, because that's
Where the rivets are, where there's like where water would settle. So if you just start like scrubbing this color all over, and you don't have to like rush to wipe it off. Like you can kind of get it all over, like let it almost feel like it's sitting for a second, and then you can
kind of Q-tip it off.
Yeah, you can Q-tip it off, let it build up in those spots. Or you could take the paper towel and remember always you want to wipe down because that's going to give it the feel like it's dripping, you know? I would start with that and let that stuff sit there in the corner and dry so like it's just like in the cracks, you know?
Okay. All right.
So you start doing that and I'm going to
take
start
the arms off and then
Yeah, and I'm going to start masking some parts.
Now you think it's better to have the arms on or off to do this? Because on they would drip in those crevices.
Oh yeah, leave it
Okay.
on.
All right,
yeah,
leave the arms on.
Yeah, leave it on.
All right.
So I have a little bit of this like candy red all-clad lacquer, and I want to make it look like a couple of these spots are kind of an anodized red. And when you're doing like a candy red or an anodizing, you want to have it on top of the metallics or on top of your blacks or whatever. Do you know that in car culture, when you get a true candy apple red, it goes over a gold?
I know that.
Yeah.
This is the gold as opposed to the black. It's
As opposed
gold.
to you don't put it over a shiny chrome,
Huh.
put it over gold. Yeah, see there you go. See, I just want this to look like just like an anodized little highlight area.
Nice.
Yeah, there's a little bit of
And that can be a little worn and
Yeah.
whatever. It doesn't need to be
it's not
perfect.
a perfect coat because we're kind of painting it all in one time. It'd be nice to let these things dry a little more in between and do a little more prep work. But so one of the other kind of paint things that I really like doing when I'm painting metallics is there's a color called micaceous iron oxide.
Micaceous.
Yeah, that's
a good word.
Micaceous is like it's got a mica in it, which is a ground,
Okay.
a heavy ground pigment or something like that. I'm sure somebody on the internet will correct me what micas are.
Okay.
But anyways, this micaceous iron oxide is something that I really like using to kind of shove into like corners and stuff of metallic things. It's got like a little bit of a sparkle to it.
Yeah.
And so if you get like where you're using that for weathering, like I'm going to use it and kind of get it deep into these cracks here just to give a little bit of like some sort of oxidizing in the cracks on this one. So I'm going to just kind of use a little bit of this micaceous iron oxide.
I'm pretty happy with mine, Frank.
I like yours better than mine.
What? No way.
Yeah, I mean, it's always more fun to like weather and make things like tore up looking. And, I think you need more rust though.
More rust.
I think you need to add more of this sienna color, this orangey sienna brown to the micaceous iron oxide, and let it pool and collect more. You need to like have it drip out of like all the orifices. Like think about like rain has pooled up in places and like it's been running in the same spot.
And that's the thing I was the most hesitant to do.
Like you're making yours like rough around the edges. Like you need to give it more.
Okay.
So I would do more of that. And I think on mine, as I'm looking at this, do you remember that RoboCop suit from RoboCop 2?
Yeah, I saw it in person.
At Phil Tippett's shop.
Yes.
We've seen it. Remember how it had all that like purple and blue, like kind of iridescent? Mm-hmm. I want to add some more blue onto mine. Like mine, you put the little red highlights like built in, and it's cool. But I want to put some more blues in there to give it that like iridescent feel.
Okay. All right.
Like
and that's airbrush.
feel. Yeah, I'm going to airbrush a little bit more of the marker inks on here.
All right. We're in another pass. Now the question I always have is, when is too much? When do I stop?
I think with yours and with kind of like destroying it, like you almost can't do too much.
Okay.
Like you could keep going. I mean, there's a point where it just turns into an orange mess, but like take your time and just continue sneaking up on it. I just think you don't have enough yet.
Is it worth doing a black wash on this, a black acrylic wash?
You could, and that would deepen some
Dirty it
areas.
up?
Yeah, that may help give some contrast to areas.
Would I do that before or after adding more rust?
I would probably do it before.
All right, so I think I'm going to do that next.
Yeah.
Just maybe spray some washed down acrylic and then push it into some of the crevices.
No, you would want to take acrylic straight out of the bottle and scrub it in and then wipe away.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, and then go back in with more of the.
All right, I'm gonna do that. Give it some definition. I think I'm done.
Yeah.
You think you're done too?
Yeah, I think so. Working at a small scale, it's always really tricky to make something like look real nice and fresh and shiny. So there's a bunch of errors in my paint job which are driving me insane.
And you kind of pivoted. You originally wanted this Iron Man
look,
chrome and red, and then you ended up with something a little more iridescent.
More RoboCop.
A little more RoboCop 2. And I got a more pewterish Iron Giant.
Yeah, like a cast iron. Yeah.
I'm really happy with how these came out.
They're really neat, but.
And again, they're different approaches. One start with a gloss black, one with a little more of a matte black.
No, they were both gloss black. Yeah, they were both gloss black.
And then from chrome to magnesium.
Yeah.
And
there's all kinds of other finishes that you can get, like not just the all clad. Like all kinds of companies have different kind of paint finishes, and really it's about like kind of experimenting and playing around and combining things, like how we were layering different kind of finishes on top of each other.
The lesson really is how that base coat works with a top coat.
Oh, and how prepping your model properly really affects your paint job down the line. Like if we had really polished this thing off, like we could really get like really nice finishes, but we left things a little rough.
Yeah, well, I think for example of two different paint jobs. We did a great job, and I know you're going to add lights on yours, but for the paint job, we're complete. That's a day spent at This Old Effects Shop.
Yep.
We'll be back in a couple weeks with another project here. Thank you so much, Frank.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.